ladies and gentlemen, Mike Mongo. You know, astronaut teacher. Pow, pow, pow. I am very strongly of the opinion, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Mongo, astronaut teacher. Yeah. All right. Good morning, salutations, good afternoon. This is being watched in all these different places around the world. As a matter of fact, I was just looking up the student that I was working with. He gave me a call on Instagram. I met him at the International Space Development Conference in Arlington, Virginia last year. You can see his face on my Instagram, on my IG, Mike Mongo, astronaut teacher. And because we did a video call yesterday, he called me from his uncle's. His uncle is an engineer, and he just made the decision as a 16-year-old that he is going to grow up to be an engineer. His parents had been wondering if he was going to be an engineer or a doctor. And so this month, he decided that the career for him is engineer. And he needed to let me know that. So he reached out to me on IG. He had reached out before, we had communicated. I supported him in some academic decisions, some school-related decisions. And the next thing you know, we're talking on IG. There's like a 12-hour difference between here and India. So we had to schedule it so that his day was coming to an end while my day, or his day was starting while my day was coming to an end. That's what it was. And I got to see the shop that his uncle owns, the engineering shop, and it was beautiful. It was so clean, and you could tell that his uncle loved to be an engineer. And I love that because I tell students all the time. I tell girls, I tell boys, I tell tall students, I tell short students, I tell skinny students, I tell fat students, I tell students who are light-skinned, I tell students who are dark-skinned, I tell students who are overly rich, I tell students who are underly poor. There is no better job in the whole anything that I know of, besides astronaut teacher, than engineer. And it's funny because so many times we ask students, students, check this out. You ever have a grown up ask you what you want to be when you grow up? Like that question is so cliche. Like every grown up in the entire world. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? Doesn't that drive you crazy when doesn't that just like, doesn't it kind of just shut down when a grown up asks you that? They have to be somebody you really care about to ask you, for you to be interested in that and to follow through with it. Because if you really care about them, then clearly they really care about you. And then you guys are having a conversation. They're not just asking you out of nowhere. So what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't ask students that question. You can be anything you want to be when you grow up. If you want, my adopted brother, I was adopted as a boy. I had so many good dads in my life. I'm blessed. I had some terrible dads too, and that's why it was a blessing to have the good dads. And so when I was growing up, one of my adopted brothers, his name is Marty Canley, and his dad, Walt Canley, was one of my adopted dads. And he came in an important part of my life, a really important time when I needed a good dad. And he was a great dad. And so when Marty was 5 years old, a teacher asked him, Marty, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Marty thought about it. And then he said, when I grow up, I want to be water. And he was five when the teacher asked him that. And that's a great answer if you ask me, because being water would be like a superpower. And I love that. Now, the funny thing is the teacher was like, no, you're not understanding. What do you want to be? And Marty was adamant. No, I want to be water when I grow up. And so they sent a note home like, hey, your son wants to be water when he grows up. And his parents were so cool. They sent a note back and said, that's a great idea. Because Marty had the kind of parents to support him in his dreams. And since we're talking about going to space, it is really important that you as students surround yourself with people who support your dream and your vision. That's one of the big takeaways for this. Oh, this is episode 1 of Mike Mongo's Astronaut Adventures. Pow, pow, pow. That's the human air symbol. people who grow up to live, work, and play in space, which is you. So there was a person, his name is Johnny Appleseed. He's a real person in the United States. And he was born with the name John Chapman. And he went and did these amazing things because he had a vision and he pursued it, which is what I'm here doing right now, encouraging you to do. I want whatever vision you have for yourself, go for it. Go for it. But to get that thing that you want, if you really want it, we get to surround ourselves with the people who believe in our dreams. And that's a huge thing to understand. It's going to make a big difference in your life when you become a grown-up. Being a grown-up is the awesome. By the way, I said that being water is like a superpower. I have a superpower. I realized it. I finally realized it. I always tell people that I'm like Batman. I'm a superhero without superpowers, which is cool because you don't have to have superpowers to be a superhero. You just have to be superheroic. So here's my superpower. Some people might think this is a dumb superpower. Some people might think that this is an inadequate superpower. Some people might even say or argue, that's not a superpower, Mike Mongo. And those are the type of people that I nod, okay, that's your opinion. But the people who understand what I'm about to share with you is a superpower are the people that I surround myself with. And I have so many of them in my life. As a 55-year-old grown-up person, I am surrounded by people who believe in me. I have surrounded myself. And anytime that anybody tries to diminish my accomplishments or undermine my dream, and even as a grown-up, that happens. I'm usually very polite, and I go on to the people. I surround myself with the people that I move them away. I put them at an arm's distance. That's what I do. So here's my superpower. You ready? Here it comes. This is a great one. As a grown-up, I remember what it is like to be a kid. And how that is because my inner person, my inner 10-year-old, 8-year-old, is alive and well inside me. I am the spaceship as a grown-up for my inner 10-year-old. My inner 10-year-old is an awesome human being. And my inner 10-year-old is really clear on what he wants to be and who he is. He loves the world. He loves you. He loves people. He loves play. He loves art. He loves song. He loves dance. He's starting to learn how to dance, my inner 10-year-old. So he's cool. He's cool. He loves nature. He loves nature. He loves animals. He thinks of all animals as people. That's my inner 10-year-old. See, I mean, like right now, just drawing from him. He's right here with me, with us right now. And that's funny because with you as students, you don't know this yet because you haven't been a grown-up yet. One day you will be, and when you do it right, it is the best thing in the whole everything. And the reason it is because you kind of get to do whatever you want all the time. So that's the whole deal. That is my superpower. That's why I'm able to communicate with students really well because I am a grown-up and my inner student, my inner 10-year-old person and 5-year-old, I'm in contact with all versions of myself from the past. And all of us, me in the present and all the past versions of myself are in contact with my future self. I'm always checking in with my future self and seeing what I can bring to my future self. And that's a really important thing that you as students can do. Like, let's say that you are 8, okay? You can check in with your 10-year-old self and figure out what they want you to learn. Like my future self right now is having me pay a lot closer attention to physics. I have a natural understanding for physics. I have a natural grasp of mathematics and science. It took me a while to realize that. It took me a long while. I just accepted that that's how everybody thinks. And it turns out that's not the case. I had some friends, I did this. I went as a grown-up to this training, which is school and class, and it was for effectiveness. And the people in the class, we did 4 months of training together. It's for leaders. My friend Loretta Whitesides invited me to go to it. And at one point, the classroom stood up. This was a class of friends they called themselves LP, which means Loving People 165, because there was 165 classes of loving people before them. And so LP 165 literally stopped the class, stood up and said, "You are not allowed to pretend that you are not intelligent anymore. You are not allowed to pretend that you are not that you are stupid. You can be stupid, but that doesn't mean that you are stupid." And it was, for me, because I was surrounded by people that I trust, same way when I was in the Army, same way when I was in college, I was surrounded by people I really trusted. When these peers, which are people who are equal to us, on the same level as us, when these peers said to me that you're a smart person, like I was in a training that surrounded by people being honest with me, as I was being honest with them when it was their turn. And I could no longer pretend that I was not as intelligent as I am, which is a blessing, it's a gift. And all of us have these gifts, different gifts. Some of us are super talented at writing. My mom was amazing at writing. Some of us are fantastic at art. Some of us are so good at song. I am not a singer, okay? So here's the deal. I love song as much as the next person, but I'm really not a singer. Like I have friends, my friend Taylor Linden, she is an amazing singer. She's fantastic. And gosh, if I could sing like her. Great Googla Moogla. Wow, she can sing. Okay, so let's see, what song do I know? I know Safety Dance. You can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind because your friends don't dance. And if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. I say, you can go where you want to, a place that they will never find. And you can act real cool and totally remote. And you can act like an imbecile. You can dance. Everything's under control. You can dance. They're doing it from pole to pole. You can dance. Everybody look at your hands. You can dance. Everybody's safe to dance. It's safe to dance. It's safe to dance. And that is my singing voice. So there's so many people that are better singers than me. And you know what? Because of that, I let them sing. My friend Seamus Blackley, he invented the Xbox. And he is a straight up genius. He never had any doubts about it. Maybe when he was you. But I bet when he was you, he understood what his talent was. But in any case, what the thing that was really important for Seamus's success is this. He definitely surrounded himself with people that believed in him and saw his talent for what it was. And he put a distance between him and the people that did not believe in him. Because if he hadn't done that, Seamus, he would not have gone on to create the Xbox. And everybody plays Xbox and PlayStation and Switch and all the different games. But he wouldn't have gone and done that if he had believed in the people that doubted him or told him that he wasn't as good as he is. And sometimes the people that say that to us, here's the funny thing. So why would people say that to us? Sometimes somebody said it to them. Like even sometimes I've seen parents that are that are more than hard on a student, more than hard. Not like from a student's perspective sometimes, but sometimes students don't realize that like a grown-up is being more hard on them than they can manage. Really. Sometimes we as students, I didn't know it. And then somebody will say something so important to us, like, you know what? You're beautiful. Wow. I want you to know the first time I heard that, it changed how I looked at myself. I mean, my mom always said it, I gotta tell you. But when strangers said it, as a kid, when I was you, it made a difference in my life. And the same way when someone says, oh my gosh, you're really good at math. Oh my gosh, You're really good at science. Oh my gosh, you really understand what it's like to be a kid, Mr. Mike Mongo. Pow, pow, pow. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the truth. So this is an astronaut training, and all of these things matter, because if you want to pursue your dreams, you're gonna find, we find obstacles. There will be things that get in our way. And so we have to be ready for them. And part of that is knowing, being certain of who we are and what we are and our worth. And let me tell you something. The reason, look, I did that last time too. Look, I got this book, the Astronaut Instruction Manual. I wrote it, right? Pow. Check it out. And so I put the very front of it, the reason I am who I am, for you, right here. Hello, my name is Mike Mongo, and I'm an astronaut teacher. Students call me Mr. Mike or Mr. Mongo, and I am here to train you to be ready to go to space. That's pretty much the most important thing there is right there. There's more. Give me a second. I can do this. I can do two things at once. Hold the camera and go to the next page. My friend Alyssa Carson wrote the introduction, and so it jumped into that real quick. And I even had a bookmark, which I'll show you in a second. Here, there's Mae Jemison. She's one of my favorite astronauts. She's been such a good ally to me. Thank you, Mae. Thank you, Dr. Jemison. She's a medical doctor and an astronaut. Imagine what she went through to get to that. If you are thinking of a career in space, in order to get you to space, you must believe one important thing. By the time I am a young adult, I can start to live, work, and play in space as one of the next kind of astronauts, a human heir. And that is the single most important thing for you to believe, to be able to leave the planet and live in space. Whoa, that is powerful. That's the real thing right there. This is what this is about. This is not some sort of fantasy show. This is not some sort of Imaginarium, which is an awesome place too. I'm a big fan of that. This is the real deal. The reason I'm here is because since you're a student right now, what gets to happen is that by the time you're in college, there's going to be real jobs in outer space. Real jobs, not just astronaut. You get to go live, work, and play in space. There's astronaut mining jobs. There's going to be space hotels in 2 to 3 years. Bigelow Aerospace. Here, I'll write it down. That's important. Let me write that down. I got these things that are important to write. Yeah. Here, let's do it together. I can flip this up. Look, B-I-G, Bigelow Aerospace. Bigelow Aerospace already has a compartment up at the International Space Station that is pressurized, that we are going to have inflatable space hotels that are made out of Kevlar, which is a material that is bulletproof so that micrometeorites won't go through it. They're pressurized. You live in, it's like a giant inflatable bulletproof tent in space connected to another space station. And Bigelow Aerospace has a space hotel going up. They've already got it built. They've been testing it on the space station right now. And you can Google it. And the reason I tell you all about that is because they are, as I mentioned before, I've mentioned previously, and in so many classrooms, we're going to have space jobs. We're going to have space jobs. We're going to have space hotels. We're going to have space concierge. We're going to have space chefs. We're going to have space people who make the beds. Look, my bed is made. Somebody gets paid to do that. Not here in my studio, but in space, in a space hotel, there's people that make the beds. If you have ever stayed in a hotel, you know that. That's a job. Can you imagine? How fun would it be to make a bed in space? Think about this. The covers are going to float away. So, as a matter of fact, I got to tell you this. One of the things that, because of my friends are astronauts, there's big truth about sleeping in space. one of the things that happens when you're in space is that you kind of sleep in a sleeping bag, or you got Velcro on, and so you get stuck to the wall like this, and this is how you sleep. And then you got Velcro on your hand, because otherwise your hand will just float, so you Velcro your hand to your body, and then you kind of just Velcro to the wall. And that's how people sleep. You can sleep upside down, you can sleep on the ceiling, you can sleep on the floor, you can sleep anywhere, because space is 360 degrees. It's all the way around. And because I know astronauts, I know that this is also true, that occasionally astronauts will play a trick on another astronaut. So you'll be in space and you'll be sleeping, and then an astronaut will come up to, a couple astronauts usually, and sneak in and then quietly pull you off Velcro, which has got to be a trick, right? You must be really tired, but you're doing a lot of work in space, so you're tired in your sleep. And then they pull you, and the astronauts put you right in the middle of the room where you just hang out, because you're just floating. It's space. So you're in the middle of the spaceship, and you wake up and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh my gosh. I'm floating in the middle of the spaceship, in the middle of the room. And the funny thing about space doesn't work like water. So all you're gonna do when you move your arms around is you're gonna spin. You can do anything you want. You can do these things, and you gotta wait until the air currents push you back to a surface so that you can move around again. Because you have to be touching something or on something in order to move in space. It's one of the coolest things about space. You touch something and push, and you're just gonna move to the other side to the other wall. Boom. And that's how it works. That's one of the fun things. Like, that's why if I don't know if you've ever seen Leland Melvin, my friend, the astronaut, who is at the International Space Station, and he's got water. And so if you Google astronaut candy water, you'll see that he throws M&Ms or candy corn right into a ball of water that it's floating in space. There's so much to tell you. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm gonna run out of time, but not today, just in life. There's so much to tell you about space and astronautics and being a grown-up in life and everything. And my Google, it is exciting and fun. And we get to surround ourselves with people that feel the exact same way about it. And if you're not around people that feel that way, find some people that feel that way. We're all connected on the interweb now. So your friends are on the interweb, the internet. Which brings us to Johnny Appleseed. Folks, let me tell you something. That was a real person. If there was one good person ever on the planet Earth, one good regular human being just like you and me, it had to be this person right here, Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed has become like a real friend of mine. Like, I feel like, even though he was born in 1774, 2 years before 1776, and everybody in the US knows 1776 is an important number. Even though he was born in 1774, and even though he died in 1845, he died at age 70. Even though, the fact of the matter is this, his legacy is so influential and important that it connected with me. And here's how. I get to tell you a story. So today I'm telling you about Johnny Appleseed, and then we're going to talk about Johnny Appleseed in space. How is a guy from the 1700s and 1800s relevant to space today? What? Good question. So here's this person, Johnny Appleseed, and the reason I love telling you about this particular historical figure is that Johnny Appleseed, when Johnny Appleseed started his career, he was born John Chapman. Got it? John Chapman. When he started his career, he was 17. He was a teenager. Now that is, and what he's famous for, what Johnny Appleseed is famous for, I hear rockets going off in the background. So what Johnny Appleseed, or a vacuum cleaner, what Johnny Appleseed was famous for is that he went around the land, the territory that became the United States. He went through territories that were not yet the United States. Raw land. People lived there. Native Americans, First Nation people, went out there as a teenager and planted apple seeds. Does that make any sense to you at all? Because it doesn't really make sense to me. Get ready. So he was born in 1774, so it was around 93 that he went in, 1792. He went into the wilderness with apple seeds and started planting apple seeds. This person planted over 10 million apples. As a matter of fact, I found a documentation, because I do research, and I found a documentation that showed he had got, I think, 6 million apple seeds by 1801. We keep records for the craziest stuff. So they had records of his purchase of these apple seeds, hundreds of thousands. He bought 16 bushels, and there's 300,000 in each bushel, and you can do the math. So the thing is that, what's 16 times 300,000? So 10 times 300,000, that would be a million. And then 5 times 300,000 would be another, that would be 10 times 300,000 is 3 million. And then 5 times 300,000 is 1.5. So that's 4.5 million. And then another 1. So it's almost 6 million. It's almost 5 million apple seeds right there. It's almost 5 million apple seeds right there. 16 times 300,000. And I think it was 330. Believe it or not, they counted apple seeds. Can you imagine that job, counting apple seeds? Did they weigh them out? How did they figure out that there was 335,000 apple seeds in each bushel? This is the stuff that is interesting. I just remembered something. I got this thing over here. Check it out. Right here. This is what I call my crib notes. This is stuff that I remember that I need to talk to you about. So, Google me time. Me time. I don't want you to Google me time. I want you to have Google me time. All right? We'll go back. We'll get back to that. That's at the Q&A part. I got an alarm set to remind me to talk about that stuff. All right. So when he was 27, he had already had 5 million apple seeds out there. This is crazy stuff, folks. Young student listeners, people paying attention to me right now. There was a person who walked around a unexplored territory, which is just like a brand new planet, for the record, in a time before electricity, before radio, before television, before telephones, before electricity, before batteries, before flashlights, not by themselves. This story gets so crazy. John Chapman, Johnny Appleseed, left when he was 17, and guess who he brought with him? And this is where you come in. He brought his 11-year-old brother into the wilderness. Johnny Appleseed, John Chapman, and his 11-year-old brother, who we never hear about. We should write his name down. We really should. He's earned that. This person deserves it. His 11-year-old brother, because his 11-year-old brother went into the wilderness with him. Pow, pow, pow. Here we go, flip it. This is John Chapman. John Chapman's 11-year-old brother. Get ready, here we go. I love this name. Nathaniel. I had a really good friend growing up called Nate. Nate is short for Nathaniel. Nathaniel Chapman, because that's Johnny Appleseed's birth name. John Chapman's 11-year-old brother. Oh, I didn't say brother. Brother. Listen, check it out. How crazy is this? Imagine, this is why I say kids in space all the time right here. Here we go. This is it. You're in space. A 17-year-old and 11-year-old go into the wilderness together and plant apple seeds. How long were they out there? 10 years. How crazy is that? They were out there for 10 years. He came back when he was 21, Nathaniel. And then he got married when he was 23. He was like, okay, I'm done. I've had my adventure. And I mean, wow, can you imagine the stories he has of being a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, a 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, to a 21-year-old, and then come back after being in the wilderness. And listen to the kind of wilderness we're talking about. Like I said, it's like going to space, right? It really is, because the territory which became the United States at that time, by that time it was the United States, and we're starting to make stakes. There wasn't even Texas yet. There wasn't Florida yet. Florida and Texas, as a matter of fact, became states in the year that Johnny Appleseed died in 1845. Whoa, this is how rough and rugged it was. And these two adventurers, John and Nathaniel, are out in the wilderness. And wilderness, listen to the kind of wilderness it was. The United States and all these territories used to be, they could have just called it the United Rattlesnakes of America. There was more rattlesnakes. This place was rattlesnake heavy. Even when I grew up in Florida, there was rattlesnakes all the time. I'm not even joking. When I grew up in Florida, and I grew up, so I'm from Key West originally, and then I went back to where I was born, which is Pinellas County, right by Tampa. And back when I was a kid, there was panthers in our backyard in Pinellas County, which is like by the beach. There was panthers and rattlesnakes. I remember walking over rattlesnakes. I remember having panthers come. People would call each other as neighbors and bring any kid into all the kids had to go into the house. If you're at somebody else's house, one of your friends, the parents would come, said, everybody in, and you would see panthers in the field behind us, Florida panthers, or packs of wild dogs. How many people have seen packs of wild dogs today in the United States? Rare. But that was the thing when I was growing up. When I was growing up, there was a crocodile an alligator that ate a dog, a neighborhood dog, and the people in our community went into the canal and hunted the alligator they thought it was, till they found an 11-foot alligator, pulled it out and gutted it, trying to figure out if it was the one that ate the dog because they were afraid it was going to eat children. I'm not kidding. And that was in the 1970s. This is in the 1700s. Great googly moogly. So, you as a student are so much more powerful than you ever even imagined. These guys did this, these two kids did this without I don't know that they had guns. And there's bears, real bears, not kid around bears, not pet bears, not panda bears, not bears that you would see in a zoo and have been well fed. Hungry bears that would eat up a little kid like, pow, yum, delicious. What's for dinner? Like, no joke. And these two are traveling around planting apple seeds, which at the time doesn't make any sense. So they weren't really around other people. I think that Nathaniel, I have a theory. I think that Nathaniel followed his brother because his brother was cool and having a great time. And Nathaniel was like, what, I'm going to stay here in this little village and do nothing? Or I'm going to have an adventure with my brother, Johnny. And so Nathaniel said, take me. And he went. Like, what would happen if somebody came in, like your brother, your sister came in one night and said, I'm packing up, I'm going on a spaceship. I'm going on a spaceship. There's a trip that came up. Blue Origin's got a spaceship, and I'm going to sneak aboard, and I'm going to go to the moon. Would you stay in bed? Or would you put your clothes on and your shoes on and go with her? That's the question. That's an exciting question. When opportunity shows up, you got to be ready to jump for it. I mean, that's what an adventure. 10 years in the wilderness. Bears, wolves, real wolves, big gray wolves, big gray lion-sized wolves. No joke, big wolves. Plus, another thing to bear in mind is back in the day when people moved to the United States, there was already people living here and they were getting displaced by the people that moved here. And now they were not happy about that. Those people we call Indians today, they self-define. The people who are Indians call themselves Indians today. The people we call Indians are of different tribes, which are like nations. We call the people who are Indians First Nation people or original people. And the original people, a lot of times were upset when they saw somebody of a lighter skin color come through and say, hey, who are you? What are you doing here? Why are you on our, what if somebody came into your yard, walked into your house, and no one else lived around you and someone walks in and said, this is mine? You'd be upset too. So these people were upset. And so that was another thing to keep in mind. The people who are Native Americans, First Nation people, might have been upset if they ran into couple of English guys, like now American guys. They might have been upset. And they might have killed them. People get in fights all the time. They didn't have guns, but they had knives. They had bows and arrows, spears, rocks. But here is another miracle about miracle personality, really, about Johnny Appleseed, is that this person was so friendly and so peaceful that Johnny Appleseed didn't just get allowed to walk through these territories. Johnny Appleseed learned languages of different tribes. Johnny Appleseed was beloved by different tribes of people. That's amazing. We know about Johnny Appleseed as a grown-up. Like, one of the things that I love about Johnny Appleseed is that Johnny Appleseed, oh my gosh, I know I'm talking about Johnny Appleseed a while. One of the things I love about Johnny Appleseed, and the reason I say is because we've only got an hour today, but I'll pick it up again at another time. So one of the reasons I love about Johnny Appleseed is that Johnny Appleseed is one of these people that you look at and you're like, oh yeah, he was a great guy except for this thing. They were a great person except for this thing. She was so cool except for this. But Johnny Appleseed wasn't one of those people. He's one of the rare people. We don't have an exception. We can't say, oh, Johnny Appleseed was okay except for. Johnny Appleseed was friends to animals. Johnny Appleseed was friends to children. Johnny Appleseed was friends to people who are women. Johnny Appleseed was friends to trees. Johnny Appleseed didn't like to cut trees. Johnny Appleseed was friends to people who are light-skinned. Johnny Appleseed was friends to people who are dark-skinned. Now, back in the day, in the 17 and 1800s, that's an unusual thing. We're just getting good at that now, being cool with one another and finding out how awesome we all are. It's taken us a while. People are like, who are you? And other people are like, I don't know, who are you? But it doesn't have to be like that. It can be like this. Hi. And then it's cool. So Johnny Appleseed was one of those people that made it work out. So I just want to give some credit to Nathaniel. But like the reason is like Johnny Appleseed in space. So now check this out. You can Google Johnny Appleseed in space. Google Johnny Appleseed in space. You should, because there's great stuff on it. You can go to johnnyAppleseedinspace.com. Johnny Appleseed in space. I'm just giving you a taste of the awesomeness of Johnny Appleseed. So if you Google Johnny Appleseed in space, you'll see some cool stuff. But the fact of the matter is this: Johnny Appleseed planted millions, tens of millions of apple seeds. And we didn't have apple trees in the United States at the time. And because he planted all those trees, and the reason, here's the so amazing thing. In order to have property back in the day, we had to have 50 fruit trees on our property to be able to claim that territory. One of the things is we had to have 50 fruit trees in the territory that became the United States. So if you're gonna homestead, if you're gonna say this, no one's living here, so I'm gonna live here, and get that territory, you had to have 50 fruit trees. So Johnny Appleseed, by planting apple trees, allowed people to homestead on land. And homestead means to build a home and to create a community. And he didn't just do that. Johnny Appleseed carried two things with him: apple seeds and books. Books. And so he would, in communities that he would put these apple seeds, and people would grow the trees and have the fruit trees and get the property. And to get the deed for the property, the deed was signed by the President of the United States back then. But all these deeds, I've seen them. And he would plant the trees in these communities. People would be 2 miles away from each other. There's so much land back then. And He would tear a chapter out of a book and hand it to one group of people, and tear another chapter 2 miles down the way and hand it to another people, and tear another chapter 2 miles down the way and hand it to another homesteader, another people who got their house and building their farm. And here's what happened. Because one person had one chapter and another person had the other chapter, it made everybody build a community. It created libraries. This is the truth. This is crazy. It's so insane. By going around as a person, and for reasons that no one knows today, because John Chapman left no notes. There's no diary. He planted all these apple trees. It allowed communities to be built. It paved the way for the development of these states and these places for people to have homes and farms, have food, and fostered education and literacy and community and kindness and benevolence and generosity. It's Q&A time. So we're going to leave off on Johnny Appleseed. Look, here's my digital watch. I love it. We're going to come back on Johnny Appleseed. He's so important that we can let's see if I can find the right button. He's so important that we can talk about him again. I just want to let you know, I want to get people involved with Johnny Appleseed, because this person is relevant. We would not be here today. There would be no United States of America as it is without the United States. For better or for worse, for good and for bad, there would be no place. And I love the U.S. We make mistakes, just like as a nation, we make mistakes just like we do as human beings. And then we grow and learn from them. And sometimes we learn the hard way, just like human beings. That's this nation. So that's why I'm a fan of the U.S. So that's why I'm a fan of Johnny Appleseed. And all these people said that he was all right. He's all right with me. Pow, pow, pow. That sound that you just heard on my digital watch is now Q&A time. So Q&A time is when you, as a student, as a professional student, get to ask me questions about anything, space-related, education-related, skill-related, writing-related, sports-related, and then I'll get to pick out the questions, and then I'll read them. So here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to do, a couple things. I got some assignments. We're going to do, since I don't have any questions this time, last time I had this awesome question sheet by Elena Fisher. She made these questions. You can watch it in episode 0, and from Grand Middle in Champaign, Ohio. And Nick Adaris, the teacher, he was I hope I got his name right. A pretty good friend of mine, becoming a really great friend. And so I want you to send me your questions. You can do that. You can go to mikemongo.com, press contact, and you can send me questions. Simple. I'm on IG. You can send me questions on IG. Mike Mongo, Astronaut Teacher. Easy to find on Instagram. Mike Mongo, Astronaut Teacher on Facebook. All these different places. Go to mikemongo.com and press contact. And I tell you what, I will look over the questions. If you send me your name, your age, where you're from, and your school, I'll say, hey, this is from Serena from the Bronx at something school number 5, and she is 9 and has these questions. Okay, you send me your questions and I'll answer them. And if I say your question on the show, I will send you a United Launch Alliance remove before flight tag keychain. These are rare and special. Tori Bruno from United Launch Alliance, the largest launch services provider in the United States, Rocket Services, gave me a bag of these. And so I can send you. So you send me the questions and I'll send you the stuff. That's a deal? Deal. All right, so Q&A. So I got some assignments for you. Assignments. You ready? Listen. If I'm going to give you assignments, how are you going to know if you don't have a pen or paper or something like this? If I say to you right now, I think that maybe people should, okay, how are you going to remember? We got to figure it out. So you're either going to have a pen or paper, or you're going to write it down. Writing it down is the best way. I think it's the best way. So let's see. You go get a pen and paper, and I'm going to draw a spaceship real quick. You get a pen and paper or a crayon or a marker or anything like that. Anything like that'll do. Let's see, how do I make this work? I got a stand here which will support the cause. It's supporting it. The cause is supported. Cool. So you go get that, and I'm gonna draw a spaceship, okay? All right, let's see about this. Cool. And then over here, let's see if I can move over here and over here. Okay, so I think everybody should draw a spaceship, and if you don't have a pen and paper, you won't be able to draw a spaceship. And my buddy Paul Menta said, Mike, I have a friend, I saw it on Twitter, that he takes random everyday items. This is something that you make tea with. It opens up, and you put tea leaves in there, and then dip it in hot water, so let it set for a while. And I think this would be an excellent spaceship shape. So while you are getting a pen and paper, when I give your assignments, I am gonna draw a spaceship that looks like this, all right? I mean, this is like, this one is a good one, if you ask me. I think it's amazing. Like, this is the kind of spaceship that I would be in the first place. I think it is cool. Can y'all see that? I don't know how big it is. I like both these two lips right here. This is sort of a traditional spaceship shape, UFO flying saucer shape. But there's this part right here, which makes it really interesting. And by the way, so I'm gonna make this into a big spaceship. And so that means the window, the giant front window is gonna look like that. And then there's gonna be little windows right here. There should be a gazillion of them really, because people wanna look out the windows in space. People wanna look out the windows in space, so there should be a lot of windows. I hope you all are getting your pen and paper, because I'm about to give you an assignment. Whatever, or crayon, I'm gonna put some down here too, because it's multi-level. And looking out in space is gonna be a big deal. Everybody's gonna be wanted by the windows. And inside, there's gonna be benches for everybody to sit down on. All right, so now this is gonna be the interesting thing about this part right here is this is gonna be our engine. And I work with a group that works on all these different interstellar, meaning another solar system spaceships, and everybody has their designs about what the spaceships should look like. And they have an idea about what's gonna make them run, what engines are gonna, okay, so this is just a cool part right here, come on. How cool is that? And the same thing right here. Okay, so now there's a round circle over here in the back. I am gonna turn it the other way. And this is not a tube, but this is gonna be a propulsion generating device. So it comes from here. And then somehow this is amplified right over here. There's some sort of effect, something that Elon Musk would probably come up with, or Jeff Bezos from Amazon, he's also really smart. And this is how that goes right there. And so this produces some effect that, so this is gonna have this is where this comes out right here. And that is how you draw a spaceship from an everyday item. Okay, got it? Can you all see it? Everybody got their writing implement? So here's your assignment for today. Let's see if I can get this thing. Now that I've got this on a stand, I'll let you check out my spaceship. Hey, there it is. That is interplanetary spaceship Tea Leaf. That's the USS Tea Leaf, or ISS, International Space, or NSS, National Space Society. And so today's assignments, here's what they are. We got assignments. What time do we have? How are we doing? Great, 11:53, we're ahead of the game. Well, in my time, it could be a different time where you are. So here's the assignments. First is, oh, wow. You remember that since it's all coronavirus and pandemic right now, where we live is our spaceship. So this is my spaceship. This spaceship, by the way. So if I had a spaceship, I decided that this kind of spaceship I would like to live in it would be exactly like Jamaica. Because I've been to Jamaica and it is the best. Jamaica's got beaches, Jamaica's got mountains, Jamaica's got streams, Jamaica's got mongoose. A I'm Mike Mongo. Jamaica's got mongoose. So cool. What? Jamaica is cool. And so imagine a giant spaceship that was like Jamaica. That to me is what a spaceship, if you're gonna live in space, it should be like space is huge. You can have anything as big as you want. So why not have a spaceship as big as Jamaica? And with trees and some sort of big light source that is like a sun. Hey, I better switch out this power, this light. Good thing I got 2 batteries on this bad boy, I think. So my spaceship, if I had a spaceship, it would be the ISS something. It would be the ISS Jamaica. But since this is my small spaceship during the pandemic, my spaceship, I'm calling this spaceship the Studio. Like one of my favorite TV shows is a TV show called The Orville. The Orville, like Orville Redenbacher or Orville Wright, who is one of the Wright brothers who invented airplanes. The Orville. And so I call this Studio. Now I can change the name of my spaceship. We shall see if I do that. I just woke up this morning and I said, you know what, Spaceship Studio, I like it. So Spaceship Studio, that's what this is. That's what I call mine. Your assignment, one of your assignments, should you choose to accept this mission, is to name your spaceship. You got it? Name your spaceship. The spaceship that you are living in, which is your home or your quarters or your shelter for the quarantine, for the pandemic we're in right now, you get to name that as your spaceship, because we're all living in space now because of the pandemic. Our houses, our homes are our spaceship. So some of us live in big spaceships, some of us live in tight spaceships. The Apollo spaceship that went to the moon, the first spaceship that went to the moon, was smaller than this closet. It was like half the size of this closet. And it had 3 people in it for days. So if we're living in a big place like this, then we've got plenty of space. If we have like 3 people in here compared to 3 people in half the size of this, would be it's pretty comfortable. All things considered, you could go in the bathroom, you could go in the lavatory. Like there's all kinds of space. There wasn't a lavatory in the Apollo. Think about that. 3 adult people having to use the bathroom in front of each other to go to the moon. Would you do that? I would do that. No problem. So, name your spaceship. That's the first assignment. Second assignment. Okay, so if you like Mike Mongo's Astronaut Adventure, it's on YouTube. Subscribe. That matters. That's a big deal. Just press the subscribe button. There's a little bell. If you press it, then what happens is you get notified anytime I'm alive. I'm alive. But you know what? I like, here's something else. I'm going to get, so do subscribe. Subscribe is really important, but I got another idea. I wondered how many times I was going to drop that. So check it out. I'm going to flip this. And then I'm going to write, this is important. Our second assignment is this, if you haven't done already. Make your bed. Okay, so I learned this trick in the military, the importance of making your bed. You just can't even believe what a difference it makes in our life when we go to bed and our bed looks like this. Like, it's like a gift that we give to ourselves in the future, because it's the morning right now here in California. It's still morning, and in Los Angeles. And tonight, when I go to bed, that is going to be awesome. You can see I drink a lot of water. So, and there's my Delta 4 water bottle. Oh yeah, so I want you, as one of your assignments, to make your bed. And here's why. Here's the thing. I'm going to pop. Back. Here's the thing. Here's the deal. Here's the deal about making your bed. Making your bed it's even better than a present to yourself in the future, which is no small thing. Like, you as a student may not appreciate how great a value that is, but we're going to work through that together, okay? So the other part about it is that it creates a regiment. A regiment is something different than a routine. A routine is when we do the same thing over and over. And I am going to work to encourage you to develop a regiment. A regiment is the things that we definitely get done today. We get done. A regiment, like my regiment, I wake up, I usually have some water or some juice, and then even I usually have water, then I brush my teeth, and then I have some juice, usually not orange juice after I brush my teeth, but whatever. So it depends on that order. And then I make my bed, and then I check my text to make sure that there's no emergency that needs the attention of an astronaut teacher, pop. And then I start my day. And then and when I come in the door and I'm bringing stuff from outside, let's say I go to the groceries, which I go to the groceries once or twice a week, and I have a disinfectant spray that I wash everything down with after I've taken everything off at the front door. That's my regimen right now during the pandemic. It's like disinfecting when you're coming back into your space station, in your spaceship. These lights and these batteries. So you guys get to do these things. I don't know if I can figure these things out. I will though. So then having a regiment is different than having a routine. Keep that in mind. So making your bed gets to be part of our regiment, and you're gonna see what a difference it makes in your life. It may not be obvious, but I want you to trust me on this one. It's really important to do something and have a regiment. It's really important to have a regiment. A regiment is gonna make a difference in your life. It's gonna let you achieve the goals that you want to achieve, okay? All right, done. Oh, our time is up. Last thing, send me your questions. Oh, wow, I didn't get to talk about my hair. I haven't had a haircut in forever. I did get to talk about drawing a spaceship. I didn't get to talk about Loretta Whitesides, who I love dearly. I didn't get to talk about how important crying is, and sometimes we cry and it's okay. I didn't get to talk about Google Me Time. Google Me Time, we got 60 seconds. Google Me Time is we're all in pandemic, we're on spaceship, I want you all to take an hour and figure out if there's something you're interested in, and it doesn't matter to me what it is, but you have to be consistent about it. Whatever the thing is that you're interested in, I want you to Google and learn more about it. If you love football, I want you to figure out how many football jobs are in the United States. If you love tennis, I want you to figure out how tennis rackets are made. If you love Minecraft, I want you to learn about the person who invented Minecraft. I want you to learn about the subject that you love. If you love soccer, figure out how soccer balls are made. Figure out the history. How did soccer get invented? Study your business like homework. And that's it. This is Mike Mongo's Astronaut Adventure. In the words of my people, pow, pow, pow.